Welcome back to Sci-Fi Realities, the show where yesterday's sci-fi turns into today's tech miracle or total nightmare, depends on my caffeine situation. I'm Sophia, your semi-reliable host, and I'm still spiraling through the internet and at least 14 tabs open about the end of the world. Some nights, it's more like 20. Today, we're diving into the senses, hearing, taste, and maybe a dash of existential dread. It's going to get a little weird, but I hope you stick with me. But before we jump into all that, just a quick update from our last episode. So remember, we spoke about the direwolves from Colossal Biosciences. I'm assuming y'all watched my first ever episode, but if you didn't, please give it a listen. We talk all about these pups, Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi, the lab-grown wolves dominating headlines, other than tariffs, of course, but I'd much rather be talking about these wolves. Well, the skeptics are circling. They're questioning how dire these wolves actually are. Scientists are pointing out that the DNA overlap isn't overlapping enough. It's more like calling your golden doodle a lion because you slapped a mane on it. Some researchers are saying that these pups are more husky cosplay than Ice Age apex predators. One critic even called it PR fluff with pointy ears. Ooh, ouch. Also, ethical concerns are mounting. I mean, we should have led with the ethical out the gate before Colossal Biosciences decided that they're going to play God. You know what? I'm sure they had, but hey, money talks. One researcher warned, we're creating Frankenstein puppies with no plan for how they live in the real world. That is a very, very valid point, one researcher. At this point, Colossal has no plans to release the wolves into the wild. So, what's the angle? What do you do when you create these CRISPR crunch beasties, but you can't unleash them? So, what's the plan? I can think of a few. I had some help, but I can think of a few. The first one, the most obvious, is zoological attractions or designer zoos. They're building these controlled environments. To me, that screams expensive high tech zoos or conservation parks. So, Jurassic Park. And I'm picturing it now, exclusive VIP experiences where you get to brag. Yeah, I met a direwolf, that's just me. It's just how I roll. And y'all know a wolf meet and greet is coming right after they throw together some wild waiver that's basically like, hey, you might lose a limb or your life. I don't know, but direwolf, so you got to get on board. And people will get on board. People will sign on to see these things. I mean, people climb Mount Everest knowing there's what, like a 1 in 20 chance that they won't make it. I mean, don't quote me on that number, but it is pretty high. And half the reason is probably to post a picture that say, hey, I made it to the top. So you think they're going to pass up a chance to snap a selfie with the direwolf? If there's bragging rights involved, somebody's cutting that check, somebody's losing a finger, and somebody's definitely making a TikTok about it. Also related, but I never knew whenever you see pandas at your local zoo, chances are they are paying China about $1 million a year for that panda. $1 million for a giant ball of anxiety that just eats bamboos and fall off of stuff. Although they're just so adorable, like ridiculously so. And if that adorable panda has an equally adorable panda baby, that will cost the zoo about $600,000. That is a lot of money. So, in addition to Colossal having their own designer zoo, they can loan out their animals to other zoos. I'm sure it'll be well above the million that zoos pay to China. Another thing on bioscience's radar could be genetic engineering as a service. I said could be. I don't know what they're doing. Could be. So the direwolf is basically a proof of concept for Colossal's platform. They're showing off that they can engineer and birth an extinct species using CRISPR and stem cells. That's not just cool, that's sellable IP. If they can do direwolves and all the other animals that they're promising us, they can license the tech to others trying to resurrect whatever it is they want to resurrect. Megalodon, if they so choose, saber-toothed cats, or maybe Neanderthals. I don't know, maybe wild times we were living in. So a possibility. A possibility. This would set Colossal up as the AWS of genetic resurrection. Now, the third thing, which it's a stretch, is carbon offsetting and eco branding. So Colossal is framing this as some grand conservation effort. They're saving ecosystems by reviving lost predators to restore balance. Never mind that it might be years before you can release any of these animals into the wild. But this PR can open the floodgates for ESG investors and companies desperate to greenwash their image. They'll put out all the PR about helping to save the planet through their partnership with Colossal, But never mind the fact that they spent 15 million, I don't know, I'm guessing that's a ballpark amount. So they spent all this money cloning a prehistoric murder dog who eats imported elk instead of, I don't know, fixing literally any of the existing environmental disasters. There's a buffet to choose from. Colossal's product isn't the dire wolf or the woolly mammoth, the dodo, Tasmanian tiger, and whatever else it plans to revive. The product is the tech and the buzz. The wolf is just a press release. They're turning extinction into a spectacle and biotech into brandable entertainment. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong because we all know companies are always driven by very pure and very noble intentions. Anyway, shout out to Khaleesi. May your reign be more coherent than the show's final season. And props to the boy pups too, Romulus and Remus. Didn't mean to leave y'all out. May your legacy involve fewer sibling betrayals and more snacks. So moving on to our main topics, the first one I like to call Sound That Stalks You. From the publication of Popular Science back in March, the headline read, quote, researchers create sound that can bend itself through space, reaching only your ear in a crowd, end quote. No headphones, no speaker, just a whisper from the void straight into your soul. Terrifying and convenient. My absolute favorite combo. So here's how they do it. They use ultrasound, high-pitched sound waves humans can't hear. Now, when two ultrasound beams fired at different frequencies cross paths, they do some freaky wave math called nonlinear acoustics. You could look that up on your own. And boom, the collision creates a sound only you can hear in one very specific spot. It's like your AirPods teleported into your brain, like zero contact. That is pretty dope. Now, I will admit that when it comes to the word ultrasound, I have total mom brain. All I can think about is womb selfies and jelly on the belly. Meanwhile, scientists are out here bending sound through space, and I'm like, oh, is it a boy, a girl? So cute. All right, let's move on. Another cool thing, scientists can bend the beams using acoustic metasurfaces, basically sci-fi materials that let sound do parkour around walls and obstacles. Picture a cartoon central snaking its way to the pie on the windowsill, except it's the new Rihanna album, We All Can Hope, and you are the pie. I did some more digging around this and saw an article that talked about this back in 2007. One was from Wired titled, A Voice Only You Can Hear, DARPA's Sonic Projector. And the opening paragraph really sums it up. Quote, imagine a weapon that creates sound that only you can hear. Science fiction? No. This is one area that has a very solid basis in reality. The Air Force has experimented with microwaves that create sounds in people's head, which they've called a possible psychological warfare tool. And American technologies can beam sounds to specific targets with their patented hypersound, end quote. So DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, aka the Pentagon, are like, been there, done that. So this gives way to the belief that with most innovative tech, chances are the Pentagon tried it 20 or so years ago. See, GPS, the internet, and probably invisibility cloaks. I think definitely invisibility cloaks. What do y'all think? Like, this is a ridiculous hill that I'm willing to die on, for real. So, what could our non military version be used for? Some really cool things, if we ignore the fact that the military called their version a possible psychological warfare tool. So, one, accessible audio without the gear. So, think of museums, historical sites, even walking tours. People can get personalized audio guides without needing to rent bulky headphones. Another one, multiple audio zones. If you're in a car, dad can get GPS directions. The kids can hear whatever they're into, and mom can put on her favorite podcast simultaneously. Everyone wins, except the driver who's probably stuck driving 14 hours to Brooklyn. Sorry, babes, but I would definitely love this tech, like for real. A third one is less noise pollution. This could be a huge deal for cities. Less ambient noise, fewer loudspeakers screaming info at everyone. Quiet zones might actually stay quiet. Even public transit could get more tolerable. Imagine hearing stop announcements only when you need to. Now, as someone who lived in the city and took the train most of my life, this would be such an amazing feature. People who take public transportation would be so grateful for this. The final one I'll mention is privacy in public. Think about, in a hospital, right? Doctors who need to consult with the family member of someone who's been admitted. They could talk to that person without fear of being overheard. They could just whisper right to their ear and their ear only. All of this sounds great. All of it sounds really amazing. But all I can think about is the way businesses would use this to pump out more ads. Imagine driving past the billboard, or if you're in the city walking past the billboard and it just softly whispers, your favorite snacks are back in stock at Target. Or worse, limited edition pumpkin spice nuggets available now. Nobody wants that. I don't want that. It's all giving Minority Report. Remember Tom Cruise walking through a mall as every ad called his name? John Anderton, you could use a Guinness. We thought, wow, that is so wild. Imagine if the future was really like that. Now it is. And I'm not sure we are ready. I'm definitely not ready for that. But apocalypse aside, I can imagine echo chambers becoming actual chambers. There is a loneliness epidemic, and this might make it worse. With everyone getting tailored info beamed to them, social discourse might collapse further than it has now. No shared experience, no common soundscape, just each of us in our own little audible bunker. We already don't agree on facts. Now we won't even hear the same world. And some may think that's a good thing. I disagree. Again, with all tech, some good, some bad, and time will tell which one will win out. So if sound can follow us around like it's a corporate poltergeist, the question becomes what sense gets hacked next? Spoiler, it's your taste. Let's dig into digital flavor. Quick question. When 15-year-old you, or younger, or older, or you now, imagine the future, what do you picture? I mean, do you picture flying cars, robot butlers, instant teleportation, or people flying around with those jetpacks instead of walking? That would be pretty cool. I want that. Or do you imagine licking a mouthpiece to taste virtual soup? If you imagine the latter, that's weird. You're probably the only one, but you win because that's where we are. And yes, I'm going to walk you through this like we're entering the Wonka factory. Only everything is sterile, wireless, and mildly dystopian. I do love that word dystopian because I think it sums up everything these days. So apologies if I overuse it. Scientists at Ohio State University have officially created a new technology called e-taste that lets people taste digital food. Not look at it and not dream about it, actually taste it with no food in sight, with no food in their mouth. Imagine biting into a virtual slice of cake or sipping a digitally generated, that's hard to say, cup of coffee and tasting it, all without leaving your bedroom. So, how does this work? E-taste simulates real flavors by detecting key molecules like glucose and glutamate that represents the five basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. The system uses specialized sensors and chemical dispensers to collect this taste data, then wirelessly transmits it to a remote device. From there, a small mouthpiece replicates the flavor using a gel coated interface. It's basically a long distance relationship for your tongue. And the wildest part, it actually works. In human trials, people could distinguish labels of sourness with 70% accuracy. They were also able to taste virtual lemonade, cake, fried egg, fish soup, and coffee. What an odd combo of taste. It feels like someone just spun a wheel of cafeteria options and said, yeah, sure, these work. But the cool part about this is that they've successfully transmitted taste sensations from California to Ohio. So cross country flavor teleportation. That is so wild. We used to send letters, then we sent emails, and now we're sending lemon zest. But it gets weirder. Researchers, separate from the researchers behind eTaste, have now invented what they literally call the VR lollipop. It's not a metaphor. It's an actual gadget you put in your mouth that delivers electric current. Let me repeat that, electric current to simulate flavor. Someone sat there and thought, you know what sounds like fun? Voltage on the tongue. Yeah. So this lollipop uses small gel pouches, kind of like tiny flavor batteries, mixed with chemicals that react to your saliva to simulate taste like sugar, salt, citric acid, cherry, passion fruit, green tea, milk, durian, why, and grapefruit. Different voltages trigger different tastes. And in case you are wondering, you can also blend them to create new combinations. Want to taste durian and passion fruit at the same time? I wouldn't, but you're welcome to. Scientists think this could be the future of VR dining, remote grocery shopping, and medical taste tests. I gotta be honest, that sounds pretty awful. The voltage part, I mean. I've put my tongue 9-volt battery before several times, but in my defense, I was young and that's what the kids were doing in those days. But adult me, like Thinking back to that experience, I'm gonna say I'm not cut out for the electrical flavor lifestyle. I'll let this tech advance and maybe give it a try. But that's just me. I don't want my tongue zapped, but that's not stopping humanity from sprinting into this wired up future. This is Ready Player One, but instead of cool avatars and quests, we're licking tech and pretending it's tiramisu. Picture this, you're on a date, you both plug in your flavor pods, sync up your forks, the music, and lick matching devices while whispering sweet nothings through VR headsets. Is this romance? The Matrix? Like who knows? I don't know, but this is your life now. And of course, it's only a matter of time before someone is going to turn this into content. I can hear the influencers now. Hey, besties, new date night idea. Get your partner to plug into the e-taste node, zap in a truffle pasta packet, and then pretend you're in Tuscany. Link in bio. I didn't. I don't think I did a good job of that, but you get what I'm saying. That aside, this isn't just fun and games for researchers. They believe e-taste could help in a lot of things: medical treatments for patients who've lost their sense of taste, controlled dieting. You taste cake, but you're eating kale. You could go through that whole bag of potato chips that tastes like potato chips, but is not potato chips. It's something like, I don't know, it's rice cakes or something. And food science, like mapping how the brain processes flavor. But also, we're digitizing food. We started with food delivery apps, then came meal kits, calorie trackers, smart forks, and soon we'll be licking gadgets and calling it lunch. At this point, food is just another UX design problem. So that was a lot. But here are my final thoughts on this. This is incredible stuff. Even when an idea screams, we definitely should not do this. And a lot of them screams that to me. I'm still amazed that someone figured out how. The human mind is so wild, it's so unhinged, it's so brilliant, it's a lot reckless, but undeniably creative. We're building technology that can whisper through a crowd. We could fake a flavor and rewire how we experience reality. That's not just innovation, it's full blown wizardry. If someone from 100 years ago popped into our timeline, they'd assume we made a pact with the supernatural and they'd probably want us all burned at the stake for being witches. Honestly, even 1990s me probably would have lost it. Because this is the kind of tech we see on the big screen and we say, "Oh, man, I wish this existed." Well, it does. It exists, and we're just full steam ahead, And now we're not just hacking the body, we're rewriting what it even feels like to be alive. And sure, a lot of this is still new, but give it a few years. Like, the pace we're moving, at times I find it terrifying. ChatGPT dropped in 2022. And what started as a Q&A bot has morphed, thanks to LLMs and multimodal AI, into something that can geolocate you, write code, browse the web, analyze images, and create movie trailers on command. And that's just 3 years in. Give it five. I don't know about y'all, but I'm side eyeing any tech that has the word smart before it. Smart fridge, smart washer, smart toaster. Those will be the frontline fighters AI revolution starts. I'm joking, of course, or not. But actually, let's run that back for a second, meaning the geolocation. This tech can figure out where you are and tailor what it says based on that. It's like having a chat bot that casually knows you're in Atlanta and goes, "Hey, want voting info for your district?" Helpful, very, yes. A little unsettling, a lot, yes. We used to joke about phones listening to us. Now AI just knows where you are. And by the way, phones are listening to us. There's another hill I'm willing to die on. And here's the part that gives me goosebumps. AI can now look at a photo and say, "Oh, yeah, that's in Brooklyn," like from a picture, not because you tagged it, just because it knows what Brooklyn looks like. One street sign, a tree, a sad slice of pizza being dragged by a rat, and you've been doxxed. So, with all great innovations comes an overwhelming sense of dread. When tech gets this intimate, this embedded in our senses, it stops being just a tool. It becomes a filter, a gatekeeper, a potential puppet master. What happens when the sound you hear, the flavor you crave, the world you sense isn't really yours anymore? Today it's helpful, tomorrow it's immersive, but next week it might be manipulative. And how would we even know? So yes, I'm impressed, very impressed, deeply impressed, like mind blown and all of that. But I'm also squinting at the future like who's programming the experience? Well, that's all for today, everyone. If you are both fascinated and terrified, hit subscribe, share it with a few brave friends, and come back next time as we dive into the next bizarre frontier. Stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, just because it tastes real doesn't mean it is.